A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention is very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world so others may benefit.
Hello listeners, and welcome to this World Game Changers podcast episode where we enter a new phase, a new era. 500 episodes under the belt already, and what we do now is we focus specifically on areas around the world, continents, and more specifically something that within WGC we have called our 10 legs, our life enhancing goals. And to set the context for a regular slot that's going to be around WGC UK, issues that are pertinent to the UK, within the containment, if that's even the right word, containment. Don't like that word, containment. A lady that's going to help me out with that word, Rebecca Wheele, a returning guest. Rebecca, a warm welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Let's start. Containment. That wasn't the right word, was it?
Well, you know what it reminds me of is the riverbanks. And you know how we talk about we need those strong riverbanks. And in a sense, that is a containment in a way, because it holds the flow that can kind of come within. That's what came to my mind. But yeah, interesting. I don't know. And
you know what, listeners? That's not the first time Rebecca's got me out of jail, metaphorically speaking. A great answer. A great answer. What's in a word, listeners? What's in a word? So we've alluded to 10 legs. And as I say, this is in the context of UK. We'll have other podcast episodes that will focus on WGC North America and WGC Africa. So Rebecca, where do we start with this? Because you're very, very au fait. I mean, you know, you are a director of one of those 10 legs. Any thoughts about how we focus in on this for the benefit of our listeners?
Okay, so I guess in the context of the UK, podcast, we'll be really diving into all sorts of different conversations around kind of everything, really. But it can be related to the UK, or it can be, just human issues, which are, obviously we can all relate to worldwide. So I think it will be, great to be able to hear stories and share insights from all over the world, and the people that are in those areas can kind of tune in and be able to relate to that area as well. So, in terms of the the legs, the life enhancing goals, perhaps it'll be a good idea if I read those out so that the listeners could get a better an understanding of what those are.
Or maybe we do them one by one, because just to release 10 it may be a bit confusing. And what better place to start with the very first one, which was already said, is basically the one that you're the director of.
Yeah, true.
So,
true. Yeah.
And the key thing, I suppose, is, some of the things that we could speak around, or how relevant that is to the UK. So, yeah, start us off on your leg one, Rebecca, if you will.
Okay, so leg one, awareness raising and purposeful communication. So, I mean, we're in the perfect place for that, really, on a podcast. So we've got a YouTube channel, and we've got the podcast is available on all sorts of platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So, you can really find it on your favorite platform. And really, I see it as about sharing our vulnerable stories about, what we've gone through in our lives, what we found challenging, what we've overcome. And in doing that, I think that raises awareness of all sorts of different issues and topics, and also at the same time, that covers purposeful communication as well, because even the actual act of doing a podcast, for some people can be a bit apprehensive or a bit daunting. And so even being able to come on a podcast and being able to have a voice and be heard and be seen, essentially, is, I think, a really therapeutic thing. And so I think that can be really beneficial for people.
Okay, leg 2, expanding good health and well-being. I mean, I think we've got to be careful on this one. We could be here for days talking about this.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to ask the question, Rebecca, does this need any elaboration for our listeners? I mean, surely, to quote the old Ron Seal advert, it says what it does on the tin.
I mean, that's it, exactly. Yeah. And the word expanding, I think it's a key point, because I think that health and well-being is always, there's it's always growing and changing and evolving. So yeah, as you say, it's massive topic. So kind of
okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, leg 3, self-empowering S.E.E. opportunities. And what that one is, as you know, the acronym C stands for sport, education and employment.
Yeah.
There again, we'll be talking to guests, won't we, around, sporting issues, how that can be used to make people's lives better. And I think maybe at this point, Rebecca, it's worth mentioning, we've spoke about our legs, we've introduced the concept of our legs, but its counterpart, and probably listeners, you've never heard this before, how lips go with legs. You might say they go with your cheeks, your face, your head or what have you, but I bet you've never heard the lips going with your legs. But that's what we in World Game Changers do. So what does lips mean? Love inspired projects, and they sit underneath each leg. So every leg will have a focus that's quite definite, and obviously we've mentioned 3 of them already, and underneath each one of those will fit a relevant project where we can reach out to people, local people, irrespective of where they are in the world, and meet their need. There again, Rebecca, any expansion on that one, do you feel?
I mean, not really. It kind of says what it is there, So, but yes, very good point about the lips life enhancing projects. So, yeah.
Yeah. Number 4, leg 4, listeners, responsible and mindful consumption. There's a dual-edged sword to this, Rebecca, isn't there? Do you want to care to share us what your thoughts are around this dual-edged sword with responsible and mindful consumption?
Okay. I'm not sure. In what way? Okay,
well, let me give you, we spoke about this quite a lot. And this is the vulnerability, listeners, of our podcast. You're getting a flavour now of what we're really about. And I would say that due to the previous 500 episodes, you've probably already got quite a clear idea. So going back to the leg 4, responsible and mindful consumption. That works on 2 levels. It works on the level of us as an individual. What is it we're mindful of consuming? And we mean that physically. So, buying plastics, bottles, recycling that, being kind to the environment, and how we dispose of our waste. So that's in a practical sense. In a more human sense, what words are we telling ourselves? What are we consuming? What story are we telling ourselves? What waste are we getting rid of? Because from my experience, we carry a hell of a lot of waste as humans. And Rebecca, I've often used the example of, we consume food, we consume drink, and if we had 50 bags of chips every day and 100 beef burgers every day and 25 cans of fizzy pop, we'd be in a mess physically. Imagine that then if we didn't actually go to the toilet and pass that as waste. What would happen? We'd die. If we didn't get rid of our waste, we would die. So why do we expect different results, listeners, when within our lives? So the things, we don't go to the toilet with basically the garbage we consume with our words. We take so much stuff from other people, we take it as read, the words that we tell ourselves. I think it's fair to say, at the risk of generalizing, that the vast majority of people throughout the world tell themselves disempowering stories, and they keep hold of that rubbish rather than letting it go, and then they wonder why they're ill. And I include they as me. I shouldn't say they, because that sounds judgmental, but we as humans, because to varying degrees, I think we all play a part in that journey.
Yeah, that's massive. That is massive. And that there's so many levels to that responsible and mindful consumption. And yeah, we can all relate to that, you know, feeling burdened and by all of the thoughts and the past experiences, the stories, and so it's all in that letting go, you know, as you mentioned.
Okay, leg number 5, individuals' prosperous living. What you've probably noticed, these first 5 listeners, is all about the individual. And it started with awareness raising and purposeful communication. So we've gone from purpose on leg 1 to prosperity on leg 5, but it's around the individual. And you'll see that pattern emerge in the second half of the legs, the 6 to 10. But let's dwell on this number 5, individuals' prosperous living. Because when we've got a purpose in life, that's great. We've got a reason to get out of bed, but it ain't enough. We deserve more. We are more. We deserve prosperity. And there is that tendency, I think it's fair to say, yet again at the risk of generalizing, that most people focus in on money as prosperity. When really, when we look and embrace it more holistically, there's so much more. And I'm going to use a general term. Happiness is one of them, social status, health is certainly one of them. You know, can't buy me love, to quote an old Beatles record. You can have as much money as you like, but you ain't going to buy me love, and you ain't going to buy me health. Yeah. So, any quick thoughts around that one, Rebecca?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. You know, it's not just money. There's so much to being prosperous and living a prosperous life. So many different, you know, parts of that, and that having that peace and that peace of mind, and so there's all sorts of different facets to that. It brings to mind the I don't know if you've heard this. There's a Jim Carrey saying where he said that he hopes everyone gets rich and famous so that they can realize that it's not the answer. So that kind of came to mind there. Yeah.
Is that one of the famous paradoxes we speak about?
Possibly, yeah. One of the many.
We do like our paradoxes, don't we?
Yes,
you and I?
we do. We do indeed.
So moving on, the second half then of these 10 legs, listeners, these life enhancing goals. And number 6, we're starting to focus on the more collective now. So the first half, as I've said, is around the individual. Number 6, purposeful partnerships and relationships. Key. Isn't every single thing in our life a relationship? Every single thing. Whether it's, you know, our favourite coffee, our favourite cake, our pets, it doesn't matter what it is. It's relationship ourselves, just me, myself and I. What relationship have I got with me? Do I like me? Do I forgive me? Do I accept me? Do I not like me?
Yeah.
And then that on a more kind of collective basis, how do we interact with each other?
Yeah. How do we show up in relationship?
Yeah. And that's usually, not always, but usually a reflection of ourselves. It always comes back to me, myself and I.
Yeah.
Or in your case, Rebecca, you and you. That's
it.
Okay. Any thoughts around that one before we move on to number 7?
No, I think that's very key, isn't it, that one?
Okay, leg number 7 then. Ethical business and entrepreneurship. That conjures up a myriad of opportunities. Anything? I'm not going to explain that one away. I think it says what it does on the tin. You got any thoughts about it?
No, I think that one's, I agree. It says what it does on the tin.
Yeah, ethical business. In other words, play things straight. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. It's a bit kind of like, I suppose, telling lies, isn't it, for shortcuts?
Yeah.
You know, they come back to bite you on the proverbial.
Yeah. And it also brings to mind, sorry, I just want to add, ethical business in the sense of, supporting Mother Earth and really having that kind of integrity and that not just in business, just purely to make money, like thinking about the bigger picture and how it can serve and be beneficial, for the collective. So, because I think there's a lot of businesses out there that is just purely just for money, and I think that that's something that really needs to change.
Okay. Number 8, financial sustainability and positive impact. Any thoughts?
I guess that brings in what kind of similar what I've just spoken about with the Mother Earth and in terms of financial sustainability. Sustainability kind of, I guess, that has invoked that idea, but perhaps that's not what it is. What would you say?
Well, it can be whatever to quote one of my great past mentors, Tom Peters, perception is all there is.
Yeah.
So there isn't a one size fits all. There never is there? Because as humans, we're so different. And that's why, listeners, so much thought has gone into these 10 legs. So much thought that we try and cover as much expanse as we can, because they are going to mean so many different things to so many different people. But just to give my own financial sustainability, I spoke around the more holistic sort of health aspect and prosperity being so much more than just money on the table. I'm going to contradict myself here. Financial sustainability. Now, there's a train of thought that certainly going back to the 60s with the hippies movement, that we can live off free love. Try going to your local supermarket, doing your weekly shopping and saying, well, I've got no money, but I can love you. I don't think you'll be taking the carrier bags out of the store.
Yeah.
So we do need this beautiful energy. And I want to say beautiful energy because money is a beautiful thing. I think we've been conditioned over the years, over the decades, over time, money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. It's an energy. It's how we choose to embrace that relationship with money. And, the cliche, certainly that I was brought up, the conditioning that all rich people are crooks. Us and them. To get on in, absolutely, dividing. To get on and be rich, you've got to trample on your own.
Yeah.
This is the stuff I was conditioned and brought up to believe was right. Yeah. From a very early age, I somehow knew it wasn't right, which set me off on a path of prodding and poking, childlike curiosity, call it what you will. Money's a fantastic, beautiful energy. It's up to us to use it responsibly.
Yeah.
And, make a positive impact.
Yes. And again, there's going to be some overlap with these legs, because that also is another one where, the relationship that we have to money. So it's the relationship, and kind of underpinning everything in that sense. So, yeah.
Okay. Penultimate one, number 9, life on land and below water. Any thoughts? Well,
I mean, it's kind of everything, isn't it? It's just earth. It's where we live. It's the not just the animals and not just but the plants, the soil, the fruits, every single thing kind of encapsulated in nature.
A lovely word that come up. If you put the word single with thing, you get sing.
Oh.
You nearly said that, didn't you?
Did I?
You nearly said sing, yeah. Not that I'm...
Did I really?
Anyway, moving on, listeners. Moving on. I'm just saying about childlike curiosity. Maybe that could be leg number 11. Exploring like childlike curiosity.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought you might do somehow. And then finally, listeners, How do we enjoy ourselves? Number 10, prosperous global communities. In many respects, that's like an umbrella for the previous 9, isn't it?
Absolutely. Agree.
It kind of brings everything together.
Yes.
So, listeners, they're the 10 legs that WGC, World Game Changers, has. Rebecca, I'm very pleased to say, as one of many hosts going forward, will be diving in with guests around any one of those 10 and lips that may fit underneath under one of those 10. And so we're going to begin on a voyage of discovery with childlike curiosity. Yes, we will be making our own words up. At times, we hope that it doesn't make sense because, to quote Robbins, confusion comes before a breakthrough. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to test the existing models, the old paradigms. Yeah. And I'm going to be extremely judgmental here, listeners, and say the fear-driven paradigms that have prevailed for far too many years, in my humble opinion. So we'll move on, Rebecca. Just invite you in to share because you're actually quite a creative person, aren't you?
A bit, yes.
Just a bit.
Just a tad, yeah.
Do you want to share us a little bit, because you will be hosting future episodes around the UK with guests and UK-based guests, but do you want to give us a little bit of insight about who you are, what you do, and your contact details?
Thank you. So, as you said, I am a director at World Game Changers. Part of what I do there and part of what I do as well outside of that is that I do design work. So, design covering all different aspects, really. So website design, graphic design, illustration. So recently we've been working on a children's book, which is exciting, which will be coming out soon. Book covers, and then I do my own projects on the side. So illustrations and pattern design and a whole spectrum of creative things.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And that's putting it mildly, listeners. An extremely, extremely gifted and talented individual. And we're so honoured to have you on board with us, Rebecca, truly.
Thank you. I'm honoured to be here.
So, I can't think of anything else. I think we've given the listeners, Rebecca, a nice intro there into, welcome to the UK, our 10 legs. I don't think we've missed anything. Listeners, hopefully that's been useful. Rebecca, I know you've already flagged this up about YouTube, but encouraging people to join our tribe, so to speak. You know the technical terminology for that. Click on YouTube or whatever it is.
Yes.
So how do we do all that kind of stuff?
Thank you. I love that term, join our tribe. It's not the technical term for YouTube, but I love it.
Right, okay.
but so we would absolutely love if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really, really helps support the podcast, and we'd love to for you to see when new episodes are out and hear your thoughts as well. So if you'd like to comment, if you'd like to share your thoughts, please do, because we really want to hear from you. So please subscribe, and that would be great. Thank you.
Superb. I don't think there's anything else to say, listeners. Other than, repeating what was said at the top of this conversation. We're entering a new phase now. We seriously are entering a new phase. This is officially episode 501, the first after that monumental half millennia. Yeah. So we're in a new phase, a new energy. I'm going to say a new paradigm. Come and join us, everyone. But before you do, I pose this question and sign off the way that I always do by saying, remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to Paul at worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?